tonight. So just hold on 1 second and we'll be with you. Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing really
Oh
well.
my
This
gosh,
is
your hair is like
great.
so coiffed and beautimous.
I gotta say, this is the beauty of dry shampoo. But I was looking at myself earlier and I was like, I must touch up my appearance.
I mean, I will say my hair 90% not of the time is 90% not what am I know is 90% dry shampoo.
Yeah,
So I'm with you, sister. So
yeah, those hair washing days. I may have it tomorrow, but for now, just enjoying the
I love
enjoying
it.
the glow.
Well,
Thanks.
I am just so glad you're here and welcome
Me too.
everybody to the hopefully there are at least 5 people who are here with us. And I I think one of your family members just started following me because they have the same last name. But Christina
Oh my goodness, that was my
Andreola of New
mom.
Narrative. I love it. That's so stinking
And my mom,
cute.
I should probably text her. She was saying, "Oh, how do I listen to your interview today?" So I should
I
probably let her
know,
know.
I
We're
know. I love it. I love it. And did I say it right, Andreola?
correct, correct. Yes, I've
Okay.
heard I've heard a lot. I was talking to the guys from TG Beyond a few weeks ago, and it was like, I heard it all, especially at the doctor's office.
Oh my
So,
gosh, yes. Well, and what's funny is people always try to make my last name Italian,
hmm.
and like Danelli,
Oh,
and I'm like, could I look more non-Italian?
oh,
So yes, so it's so
that's
funny.
funny.
But welcome everybody. I'm Rachel Donnelly with Black Dress Consultants, and I'm here with Christina from New Narrative. And
Hey.
this feels like so just at home because you were like one of the first people that I reached out to when I started my business. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
So it's like all coming full circle because I was like, hi, my name's Rachel and I'm starting a
Yeah.
business and I hear you're a death fluencer. So I want to
Funny.
meet you.
I remember those early days too. That was great.
Those
It
were
was, and
those were
look
the
where you
days.
are now. Look where you are.
I
Look where
know.
we all are.
Look
And
where
it's
we
just,
all are. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. I mean, and talk about a pivot. I mean, like let's go back to, a year plus ago.
Hmm.
And that was let's go back. So, well, first of all, let's have everybody have you
Yes.
tell
Tell
everybody
everybody.
about New Narrative
Yeah.
Memorials.
Yeah. So speaking of pre-pandemic, so New Narrative actually started out as an in-person event planning company and an event planning company that families could call up and turn to help them with all of the little details and logistics for a celebration of life event.
Right.
So, of course, inspired, as many of us are, inspired by a loss in my own family. My mom, who's actually on here right now, as we were talking earlier. Mama Tony, as they say. We were actually with when we lost my uncle. We were actually with my aunt in the arrangement room and at the funeral home. And my mom actually she piped up before I could say anything, and she goes, "Oh yeah, Christina will help with the celebration of life. She knows exactly what to do because I have an events industry background, so
Okay.
I have about a decade of event experience." And my mom just voluntold me that I was gonna start putting together the flowers and catering and the timeline, and I did, and it was beautiful. And because he was really a larger than life guy, and anyway, it's great. The company is named after him, and it was his memorial that sparked all of this. And I just thought there are wedding planners, there are corporate event planners, there are people who do other private family events, and who's out there helping the funeral directors or helping the people at the churches coordinate these events. And if you think of it in term or in the context of, say, a wedding, like when you're planning your wedding and you hire, say, a banquet hall, this is,
Yeah.
working with the funeral director is kind of like asking the banquet hall to help you plan your wedding. And it's like
Yeah.
they can help you with budgets and timelines if they can, but they're not going to not all the time will they have the bandwidth to coordinate the flowers and the speakers
Right.
and do a rehearsal with you and talk you through all these
And the
options.
food
And
and the beverage. I mean, because you need all those things. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, hats off
absolutely.
if anybody wants to have like the old school, you know, I'm in Atlanta, so in the
Oh
South,
yeah.
like, you know, the fellowship hall, you know, service. But, you know, like I want this big like to do with wine
Yeah,
and, you know, all these hors d'oeuvres. And so why not have
yeah,
a planner for death? Why
totally. Yeah. And
why not
especially if you
book it
are going to
out?
go to the community center, which I think my last event pre-COVID was at a community center where they did have a lot of, you know, the pastor gave us the room and he was going to be the master of ceremonies, but they usually just say, here's the room. We can hire an AV guy, but go ahead. And so we come in beforehand and set everything up and make sure, you know, all the seats are good and
Yeah,
okay. And
yeah.
at the one that I did last March, there was a full 30 person choir. It was a barbershop choir that came
Oh
on
my gosh, I
and
love it.
performed for the celebration of life. So it was beautiful. And of course, back to the topic of community centers, it's even more important because they usually don't have a person on site and at the venue. They, you know, it might be a custodian or it might be someone to just let you into the room. And something that a lot of people don't know is when you plan an event, somebody opens the door for, especially outside of a funeral home, somebody opens
Yeah.
the door for you and they say, here you go, here's everything you need. And you're just kind of like, oh no. And so having someone in your corner to know that, you know, guests are going to arrive early, so let's play music. Let's set up a guest table where the guest book is so that there's no bottleneck at the door. Or
Right.
let's test our music beforehand. Or let's set aside little place cards on chairs.
Yes.
So,
Well, and like the
yeah.
slideshow is so big
Mm.
these days.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, everybody is. I was at a funeral on actually on Sunday, and the slideshow was amazing, and it was just so cool
Oh,
to see all
yeah.
the different pictures. And so, I'm sure is that something that you guys help do for clients? Is put that whole thing together?
Yeah. Totally. So at the very beginning of the pandemic, we actually were one of the first companies to pivot to completely virtual memorials.
Okay. Okay.
So embracing Zoom, I worked with my friend Ali from LifeWeb 360 to come up with this like pretty comprehensive guide on virtual
Right.
memorials
Right.
and like how to do that whole Zoom experience. But yeah, essentially we work with a family beforehand, come up with an order of events, get their pictures and create the slideshow. We can incorporate some pre-recorded speeches, virtual toast using gallery view, play special songs. And yeah,
Right.
really something that I say to families now is that the box is already open. Like we're already thinking outside the box when it comes to virtual memorials. Like, you know,
Right.
you're already doing something different by doing it all online. So now
Exactly.
it's like that door is kicked wide open and
The
you can
world is your
get
oyster.
creative. Exactly. Like now you can do TikTok dances over
Oh my
your
gosh.
virtual memorial and it's totally okay. Like you can play Uptown Funk in the slideshow. It's totally fine. You can start with,
Yes.
you know, Moody Blues, Wildest Dreams, and you can end with, of course, you can still have like the prayer and all, you know, those ballads
Right.
that are, you know, in my way, like the
Yeah.
a classic. But now you can have some different music and different
Fun.
elements that still bring everybody together.
Okay, so I said I wasn't gonna throw like an unknown question at you, but like, what is the
Yeah.
most like unexpected thing that has happened at a virtual memorial?
Okay, there's a couple, but actually this one highlights the importance of a planner or having
Right.
someone, a professional company on the other side. It was a dear friend of mine. We worked with her to coordinate a celebration of life for her aunt in the Philippines, and
Oh my gosh.
she was the host of
Mm-hmm.
the master of ceremonies, and so she was speaking, and in the middle of her speaking her computer completely disconnected, which has happened a couple of times,
Oh
like
no.
over the many that I've seen before. And of
Right.
course, like having people on the back end, like we immediately, you know, played some music, played played a video, like skipped ahead, we're phoning, we're troubleshooting, making sure that in the behind the scenes, it's very chaotic, but people who are attending are essentially none the wiser. So that's
Yeah.
happened. We've
And that is the power of having a production crew in the back. Like otherwise it
exactly,
just would have
yeah.
gone dark.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you know what? As long as people, if anything one of the other beautiful things about virtual memorials is that you can always kind of edit the event afterwards. So if you're playing a video and something messes up, or if, like for instance, the audio this is a longer story, but like without getting into details, like if you put AirPods in, the music from Zoom transfers to your AirPods instead of the people on Zoom. So everybody stops hearing everything. So, but the
Gotcha.
beauty of it is that you can edit things afterwards and you can send the family home with a beautiful, or they're already home. You can give them a beautiful keepsake afterwards, like a beautiful video to watch and to share with people. And actually more and more people are watching their recorded events rather than before. Like before they
Right.
weren't taping them, and now it's like there's a built-in keepsake to
Yeah.
your day.
I love that. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
beauty of post-production, but you're really giving the family a gift because they could have
Mm.
forgotten, all the people who were either present, online, and
Yeah.
all of the memories that people are entering and the slideshow. So you're really giving them that gift to revisit.
Yeah, and something I didn't think about until the other day, which before when I was doing in-person events, I was stressing to families, if there's people that you really want to have attend, you should go out of your way and tell them they're like explicitly say that they're invited, because
Yeah.
otherwise, like especially if it's someone from the periphery or an
Yeah.
acquaintance, but still, like say if it was a teacher of mine, like I don't know if I would feel comfortable enough or feel like I belonged
Right.
at the funeral or at the viewing. But
Yes.
with the virtual option, it's like you can, as long as your company has enough space for enough licenses
Right.
and enough devices to log in, you can send this invitation far and wide, and be like a more passive participant and
Right.
watch and still participate and still be there and watch without having to be there in person or
Right.
having to put yourself in that awkward situation. One of my clients was like, I'm so happy I don't have to do the receiving line after. Like I don't have to stand
That's
and
so true. I mean, you're there
talk to
forever and
people.
you're like tired, you're grief stricken, you're exhausted, and then
Hmm.
you're just like, I just want to go home and like
Yeah.
be in my little corner. So I never thought about that, to not have to do. And the
Yeah.
awkward thing, like when you forget people's names or you don't know how you know them, you're like, oh, I know them somehow, but I can't remember. So all that is just gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know we talked about this, but as we're sort of coming out of the pandemic and we're in this weird limbo of like half in person, half virtual, like if you could, broadcast a message to the world and be like, we can still do both. Like here's the
Yeah.
value of having a hybrid model. Like what would you say to everybody? Okay, here's your mic.
Yeah.
Go, Christina.
The future, like a very easy visual for all of you listening and for, listening and rebroadcasts, is the future, aka hybrid, is going to be asking your 80-year-old master of ceremonies to introduce Donna on the TV.
Oh my God, I love that.
And that has actually happened to me before. Like before the event, I said, okay, we have a TV here. John, I wanted to let you know that here's your order of events. And at this point, Donna is going to come in from Barbados and she is going to be on the TV. So you just have to point to the TV and she will appear. And he's like, what? What? But yeah, that is what's going to happen. That is essentially hybrid events. So if you can imagine, I think I have a picture too that I'm allowed to share from a family. But if you imagine looking straight ahead, on the left-hand side is a TV. In the
Okay.
middle, there's a podium. And on the right-hand side, there's like a little altar and a table of, mementos and
Mm-hmm.
pictures so that the people in person can still see everything that's happening and be there. And then on the TV, you have the opportunity to see all these little boxes, you know, the people
Right.
that are coming to support you and the people that are there with you. And for this particular event, we also did a candle lighting. So our celebrant was at the
I
podium, and
love
first
that.
she said, I would like to invite the family to come up to the table and light a candle. And they
Mm-hmm.
did. And then she said, and now we're going to go to our virtual guests and please get a candle. And so you see all these little people on Zoom with their
Oh
little
my
candles. And the
gosh.
person who was helping us on site was managing the computer, and he was actually turning it to gallery view and sorting through the pictures so that people could see and participate. And yeah, it
Oh,
was great. I
oh,
love it.
I love that. I love it. I really just see such a need and such a space for this continued model, even beyond, even when hopefully we're in a completely post-COVID
Yeah.
world. But, you know, even with best circumstances, there are some people that simply just cannot make the travels, cannot make it there on time. And so I can just see the value. I think that this is the new funeral 2.0. Like this
Yeah,
is
the
this
new
is the future.
narrative. Get it?
Exactly.
Get it?
Exactly.
I got name checked the other day. The gentleman, the master of ceremonies, was like, "This is our new. Thank you for joining us in this new. It's a new narrative." I was like, "All
Oh my gosh,
right."
it's gonna be like a verb now, or
Yeah,
like,
a
oh,
new
did you
narrative.
new
Yeah,
narrative?
exactly.
Did you new narrative? Did you do
Did
that?
you? Did you new narrative? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I love it. Okay, so
But yeah, it's
well, I'm here with Christina from New Narrative Memorials
hey.
of Toronto. No, you're not in Toronto. You're in Vancouver. What am I
Oh,
saying? I'm
Vancouver,
thinking about
Vancouver on
Toronto.
the
I
other
have
side. Yeah,
Toronto on the brain
of
because, like, I feel like
course.
now this is like deathbed confessions because we're taking you, who is like the death influencer, somebody who's in this biz, and we're about to get
Oh
personal. Like,
yeah.
we're about to
Yes.
like jump in and unpack and talk about
Yeah.
your personal experiences with, because it's an interesting perspective, you know, with you and all of the memorials and funerals and that you've been a part of, and then your own personal experience and seeing it through that lens.
Hmm.
So I know when you did a little teaser to everybody, you know, you talked about
Yeah.
your own personal experiences, and I was so intrigued, and I really feel so honored that you're sharing that with all of us. Like I said,
Yeah.
deathbed confessions, um, pun intended. But so let's talk about that. Let's talk
Yeah.
about. I'm just going to jump in, like with you're
Yeah.
talking about your grandfather. So let's jump in with
Yes.
that.
Absolutely. So last year, in June, my grandfather died, and I was, of course, in Vancouver,
Right.
and he was living in just outside of Toronto,
Okay.
Ontario. So for those of you who aren't very familiar with Canadian geography, that is, they are on the opposite ends. I am on Pacific time, for example, and Toronto is Eastern time. So,
Yep.
you know, quite a bit, like a
Completely
five
opposite sides of
hour,
the world. Yes, yes,
exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
five
I
hour
love how
plane
you
ride
have to dumb
away.
it down for us Americans. I knew, but there are some people who
Just in
don't.
case, just in case. So, yeah, so we lost my grandfather, and I had to step up and step in because a lot of people don't know my father is actually he was the next of kin, and like without getting into a lot of details, it's kind of messy. Like the death was kind of
Yeah.
messy. Like when the with the will and everything, there was a couple of exclusions. And my dad is the executor, but my dad is also recovering from a traumatic brain injury
Oh my
that's
gosh.
16 years old. So my dad like presents very well, but of course doesn't have the full,
Right.
capability to make
Right.
appointments and get himself places, and can't drive, so needed an
Right.
escort.
Right.
And to add insult to injury, my relationship with my grandfather was I repaired it a little bit, but he was a pretty estranged member of the family, like most of my dad's side, for the most part, like pretty estranged. So this was very interesting, losing a grandfather and having to go settle the estate, and help my dad, who is grieving for his dad,
Right.
um, and while managing a grieving person for a person that you had a complex relationship for,
Yeah.
and or
Yeah.
complex relationship with, and something
Yeah.
that I from the very beginning of new narrative, like of starting new narrative, my opinion has always been like, we are very impartial. I am always extra professional until somebody opens the door to, a joke or something like that, because you never know what's happening on the other side. And I remember we were talking earlier today, like not every death is a sad death, and not every death,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that, but like not every
Right.
death
Well,
is one
it's
that
just there's so
has
many
that.
different emotions that are wrapped up. And I love that the
Yeah.
way you approach it with your clients, and it's probably comes from your own personal experience, is you don't automatically assume that everybody's close, that everybody's, has a good
Mm,
relationship, that everybody agrees with each other, what have you. I mean, family relationships
yeah.
are so complex. And then, we don't
Yeah.
talk about death a lot, A, and then B, that whole complex dynamic of estrangement just adds a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
nother bag of chips.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm Italian, so, culturally, it's like the optics are very important. And so, and you have everything, a lot of things are kept behind closed doors,
Right.
and nobody really talks about a lot of things.
Okay.
So, and it's very traditional. So it was a very traditional viewing with we did it in a funeral home instead of a church, because somebody wanted to make a speech, but they actually said no at the last minute. And so I was making the eulogy, which was also very complex.
Gosh.
But we did it in the
Oh,
funeral home and had like a viewing, and there's family members who are there, like older family members who are crying, and they're
wow.
they're upset because they've lost somebody really special to them. And yeah, it just goes to show you don't know, and you just gotta kind of be there. And yeah, I gotta kind of take it. And I was supporting my dad,
Right.
and we did stream it, so it was virtual,
Okay.
thanks to
Okay.
Gathering Us. So I was working
Okay.
with Gathering Us at the time, and so we had, yeah, it was good. We had the projection screen down, so that we could see some people, and we had a camera there capturing the event so that our family back home could see. And yeah, because we had some older family members who were, of course, in Vancouver, and they wanted to, see the speeches and
Right.
and participate in the viewing too, actually. So that's another thing about virtually streaming a service, is that, you can actually take the phone or the iPad, which I've done several times before, right up to the casket. And for some people watching,
Right.
this is incredibly important. And I remember about a year ago, a woman was saying, "Can you get closer to his face for the family in Sri Lanka?" And I said, "Absolutely. Come here. Let's do the angle together," because participating in that viewing is also really, really important for a lot of people and a lot of cultures.
Do you think that your just experience and all that you've learned, managing virtual memorials, do you think that you would have been as prepared as you were to handle being the executor managing all of those affairs and supporting your
Yeah,
dad?
I don't think so. Like it
Okay.
was a maybe when it comes to the admin side, but I know for the
Right.
funeral part of it, I don't think I would have been, because I just think that, especially the way that funeral homes and funerary customs are portrayed in the media, there's not a lot of prep on what to expect or what the process is like. And so even I was a little taken, like I worked as a funeral assistant for a bit, but even I was taken aback at the room with the caskets. I was like, oh
Right.
yeah, oh my goodness. And it's just like it's all foreign, and it's all very, especially for someone who's not, well, for someone who's experienced with this, it's like, oh, it's a lot. But yeah, it's a different kind of feeling. And then adding grief to the mix, it's like
Yeah.
it can be very foreign. And so yeah, as a professional, it was very apparent. Like I was very hypersensitive of the staff, but the staff were fantastic. And it was just,
Right.
as a professional, it just reminded me like, oh, you need to give that family even more space to get
Right.
accustomed to this new environment. Reminds me when I moved to Toronto. I moved to Toronto for a few months, 4 years ago. And I remember my very first night in Toronto, I had unpacked all my stuff at this new person's house. Like I was subletting a room, and I went to the grocery store and I forgot everything that I was supposed to do. And I was just like, what are these like red balls? I think these are cucumbers, but like I have no idea what to do with them. And I just went to what was comfortable, and it's like a shock to the system. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, if I learned anything from that experience, it was, yeah, to give that families need a little more space and grace to assimilate to their surroundings. And then also, like, price doesn't always matter
Yeah.
when you're dealing with a family member, or you're making arrangements for your family member. Like, they'll, the heart wants what the heart wants. And I
I
remember
know.
my dad and I were looking at the caskets, and I was like, oh, what about this one? What about this one? And we went for, like one that was not the cheapest, but not the most expensive, but right in the middle.
Right.
But it was a beautiful mahogany, and sometimes it's just what you gravitate to just makes you feel more comfortable with
Right.
with the process. And so, yeah, in that moment, I was just like, people, you can't make any assumptions about what people might want or what they're thinking or feeling. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people, I don't want to say come to their senses, but I'm trying to think of a better I'm trying to think of a better way to say that. Like, when you come out of the fog of grief,
Yes.
sometimes if you're, reviewing everything you bought, and you're just like,
Yeah.
why? Like, it's unfortunate that sometimes funeral directors are blamed, or are put in that position of like,
Yeah.
you took all my money, when in fact, like, this whole business is a business. And
It is a
it's,
business. It is a business. Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I was talking to a good friend, Megan Carmichael, a few years ago, and she runs the Instagram account Daily Life Death. And
Okay.
she was saying, when we were talking about my business, and she goes, yeah, when my mom passed, when my mom died, I just wanted an event planner to take care of all this stuff. And I would have gladly paid you, and I didn't want to do that. And I was looking for somebody to pay. And it, yeah, it was like, yeah, of course you would want to pay somebody to help you with these plans. And
Yes. Yeah,
yeah,
because you're
and
not thinking clearly. You're not thinking of all the logistics, and you don't need to be. You need to
yeah,
be, I remember putting together like a run of show for my mom's funeral. And it was crazy because not everybody, I don't think the funeral home was used to having somebody put together a run
right.
of show. They were like,
Yeah,
okay, what? And like I made them bring my mom's urn in late because she was late to everything.
hilarious. That's
So
so
I was
good.
like, you know what she needs? We always joke she was going to be late to her own funeral. And they were just
Funny.
like, okay, what in the actual hell is going on here?
That's
But,
funny.
but I think having somebody there to help be your spokesperson, help make
Yeah.
whatever you want, whatever idiosyncrasies, whatever crazy traditions happen.
Mm.
I think that that's so, so valuable.
Absolutely. But the one thing that did shock me was, as soon as he passed, it was just that morning. I just got the news an hour before, and somebody called me and they said, you got to pick a funeral home for him to be picked up. And
Yeah.
no decisions can be made until you call a funeral home. And I know it's different, by province or by state, or
Yeah.
depending on the matter of death. This one was sudden, and he died at home. And so, yeah, nothing could really be done without, calling to ask for the funeral home to pick him up. And thankfully, well, you know what I mean? My grandmother had passed a few years prior, so
Yeah.
we already had the information, and they knew our family. And they had actually talked about her service and his service, to each other a while ago, um, before either of them died. But yeah, it was very interesting. And then, of course, because he died at home, like, before we got there, I wanted to make sure, like, we weren't getting into, this like big mess. And so, you
Right.
have to call the people who clean up, like, biohazard and like biohazard companies. And so, I was on my way to the airport, and I was like, hello, I'm, calling to schedule a biohazard removal. And they're like, okay, what are we picking up? And from across the country, I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know.
And
I'm not
I
there.
was
I'm on
relying on
my
a
way.
neighbor.
Yes.
And
Yes,
thankfully, the
exactly.
neighbor that we worked with was wonderful. She was so lovely. She accompanied my grandfather through his last few years of
Oh,
life.
okay.
And actually, when we got to the house, so she gave me the little, like, the 411 on,
Right.
where where it had happened and what
Yeah.
may need to be picked up, and actually was such an angel. She actually cleaned up a lot of it, but by the time we got there, so we didn't have
Oh
to
my
hire a bio
gosh.
removal company. I know, a
Wow.
literal angel. And actually, to add to her angelic nature, she when I got to the house, I was telling you earlier, when I got to the house, she actually got an accordion folder, put it on the table in front of my dad and I, and was like, here you go, here's everything you need: past tax returns, current bills that were paid, you know, some like car information, some warranty information. And it was just like, it was I was like dumbfounded. I was
Yeah.
so glad. Like, you know, I have to make lawyers appointments to review the will and to do all
Hmm.
that stuff. But then here I have this gateway into this man's life where it's like, okay, I have all of the bills. And like, thankfully, he didn't have a phone and he didn't have the internet, didn't have a
Oh my
computer. So
gosh.
like, I did
Thank
not need to
God.
do any digital
Yes.
cleanup. It was just like, cancel the phone. Like, dude was super old school. Like, cancel the cable, cancel the home phone, recycle his car. But yeah, and it was like in the middle of a pandemic. So,
Oh
you know,
my
we're double
gosh.
masking and we're making sure that we're super careful, me and my dad. And yeah, having to go from the house to the dump, and you know, cleaning out the fridge, like these little things that you have
I
to do
know.
as an executor.
That's what I say to people. I'm like, it's the little things. It's the cleaning out the fridge. It's what to do with their car. It's
Yeah.
feeding the cat. It's,
It's going through the
all.
little nooks and crannies to make sure like there's no money hidden under the mattress. Like,
Oh my God, that happened to me so many times. I
yeah, it's
mean,
like,
I mean, people hide money in the craziest places. You have to go through everything with a fine tooth comb. I mean, I've gone through houses where I went through a client's house. I guess the family just didn't know that she had all three, I can't say sets, they're not sets, but
yeah,
all of the cremains of the parents and somebody else. And they had just forgotten about it. And I was like, literally, 1-800 Got Junk was about to throw it in the dump. And I was like, whoa, whoa. And it said, human cremains on there. And I was like,
yeah,
okay, wait a minute. Let me grab those. I think they might want to
yeah,
keep those. So there's all sorts of treasures. That's not a treasure, but it is to somebody's family. But you just have to go through everything. We were talking about, making sure that there's nothing there with their, sensitive and private information and social security number
yeah,
and all sorts of things and shredding it. It's a process.
yeah.
It is such a
Yeah, and as I
process.
was mentioning earlier, there was a bit of, you know, like someone was left out of the, like, someone pretty important was left out of the will and the documents. So, you know, I had no idea what I was supposed to do. And as you know, I'm helping my dad, but like, I don't know what's going on. And so, you know, I'm taking pictures of everything and I'm documenting because I'm like, thankfully my mom, who might still be here,
I
and
think
my
so.
stepdad
Tony, you
are
there?
both so funny. She'd be like, my
I
baby's doing
love
such a
it.
good job. Yeah, she's a very big fan. Yeah, my mom and my stepdad are both in estate planning, and they both have years and years and years of estate knowledge and expertise. So they
Oh
were
my gosh,
invaluable, also invaluable. Like, I really lucked out with the resources that I had, like
you did.
invaluable for Canadian law, for Ontario, settling an estate from outside of province,
Right.
and just dealing with everything there. So, you know, one of the instructions was, okay, take pictures of everything just in case. And,
Yes.
you know, I had to make sure to be really organized. And, you know, I'm communicating with my sister who's back in Vancouver, and I'm like talking to my mom every night and asking her some advice. And my stepdad is, you know, with a glass of wine at the house, and he's like, oh, well, like, why don't you do this? And it's very funny. Like, oh,
Oh my gosh, it's
that's
like
good.
probate, 1-800 probate. That's awesome. You had like a
Yeah.
resource which so many people don't
Yeah.
have. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
And
Well,
that's why it's so helpful to hire someone or to ask someone who's in the area to help you.
oh my
And so,
gosh,
especially for
yes.
families in Georgia, like I can, or
Yes.
Atlanta specifically, Georgia is a very
Yeah.
big place.
It
But
is a big
yeah,
place.
imperative. And
Yes.
yeah, and I highly encourage anybody who's interested, who needs help in Vancouver or in Ontario, to reach out to me, send me a message. I'm
Absolutely.
happy to talk. I'm happy to share whatever I know. I'm not a professional by any means. I'm not a lawyer, not a not a
Oh, I
realtor,
know.
not an estate planner.
Oh,
But
I
yeah.
know. I put big disclaimers. I am not an attorney nor a financial planner, an accountant, all the things. But we do work with them, and you do too, especially having your mom and your stepdad
Yeah.
at your
Right.
disposal. But I think that's the value that we add, is that continuum of care, and saying, you know what, I don't know the answer, or I'm not equipped to answer that, but here is X, Y, and Z. Here's this person, because that's all that somebody needs during this time, is
Hmm.
they need somebody to help shorten the process. They don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to get online and Google and find whatever. They need a shortened, easy process, and somebody that they know is going to take good care of them. So I think that's what it's all about at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. What a time. What a
What
time.
a time. What a
Settling
time.
an
Well,
estate. I think we just settled the estate. So we just got the last paperwork done and like all from across the country. I was only there for a week and it's been like, thankfully we had a great realtor who helped us. The neighbor from down the street was like a literal angel throughout this whole process. And yeah, having people who are in the neighborhood or like your professionals that you hire and that you trust are going to be an invaluable resource.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, it just shows you that accordion file was the biggest gift that somebody could have given you. And that's in essence what everybody needs to do, but digitally. They need to be putting together their
Oh
digital
yeah.
accordion file to be handing off to family members. So
Hmm.
it, as you can see, that was the biggest gift you could have gotten.
Yeah.
All right, so let's ask, like, what, um as we're about to head out, everybody, it's Christina with New Narrative, and I'm Rachel Donnelly
Oh
with Black
yeah.
Nest
Thanks for
Consultants.
watching, everybody. Yeah.
What would be the music or the song you would request at your funeral?
Oh my God, this is so what turned into what started as like, a funny joke just turned into an actual obsession, but I am a very big fan of Lou Bega's Mambo Number Five. And actually but actually I'm thinking like My Way. It's one of the most popular and most requested for a reason. Like it's very good, but I don't know. I have a lot of songs, anything on my Spotify, which is
Anything on
what
your Spotify?
yeah, a family handed me their brother's phone and they said, "Oh, can you just play whatever's on his Spotify?" And I was like, "Okay." And so we played, the Carters and Nicki Minaj and some Diplo
Oh my
for the
gosh.
A's, yeah, for his memorial service. And it was like, truly a 17-year-old's iPod, like just the Killers and these rap songs. And yeah, but actually one of my favorite memorials that I did recently, the outro music, or like as we were closing the event,
Right.
we played Gin and Juice.
I mean, that's
He was a
what
very
I
big
want.
Snoop Dogg fan. Oh yeah.
I mean, that is my dream come true right there. I mean,
Yeah.
that is everything right there. I want gin and juice.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, or like
putting it
someone
out.
someone saying Ecclesiastes, the as I walk through the valley in the shadow within the shadow of death or something, and then having
Yes.
the Coolio
Yes.
instrumental in the background. Yeah, that's
I
my
think
new
I want some
favorite.
type of hairband or something, like,
Ooh.
something really big in 80s,
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
something out there. So, but I don't want anything traditional. So yeah, like
Nice.
so many great possibilities. And I think you said you put together the list on Spotify. Did you,
Yeah.
did
Oh, yeah. So it's called Now That's What I Call Memorial Music, Volume One, and it is a playlist. And I'll see. I'll link it here. I'll see if I can grab it and link it. But yeah, it's
oh
on
my gosh.
Spotify, downloadable. But we also have a song list too, a new narrative song list that I'm happy to share as well.
Boom. I mean, like you heard it here, guys. You've got all sorts of tidbits and treasures of how to plan a virtual memorial, how to make it the best. And then Christina is here to help walk you through the whole process. And she's even curated a Spotify list for you. So it's all done, it's all here. how do people get in touch with you? At New
Uh,
Narrative Memorials on Insta?
yeah, newnarrative.ca. Yeah, I'm always checking my DMs, always checking the email, either info at or Christina at. I answer both of those, and I am always, yeah, always willing to chat or, get on an IG live or talk about whatever, anything about the industry or about questions or, yeah,
And if you don't
Zoom.
know, if you haven't checked it out, she was featured in the New York Times. So
Right.
a little gel. So just, I think it was called, what was it called? Boom Time
Boom time
and
for death planning. Yeah,
Booth
with
Time for
with
Death Planners.
like
Yes.
Cake and Lantern and Vancouverite, well, original Vancouverite, Elisa Forneray, who's doing some
Oh,
great work
yes.
right now.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and of
gosh.
course Liz at Lantern and Surin
Yes.
with Cake and yeah, a lot of great people and a lot of great companies that are out there. I always say like if you're curious, I'm following a bunch of really great people, so just go to my profile, look at who I'm following, and like you'll see a lot of people, really innovative companies in the
Oh my
in the
gosh.
deaf tech space.
I love it. I mean, that's the same with me. Like I follow some amazing people and I've learned
Yeah.
so much. And it's a small community, but it's such a supportive community. And I think we're all here to just, boost each other up, educate, provide value, and
Hmm.
just give everyone as much, space to grieve as possible. I think that's what we're all here to more and make this a better process because, Ricky Bobby was wrong. 8 out of 10 people are not going to die. 10 out of 10 people are going to die.
Oh
In
my
case you
goodness.
haven't
Yeah.
ever seen Talladega Nights,
I have not. Okay, I need to add
okay,
it
you've
to my
got to.
list.
Yes. All right. You add that to your list.
That's
But
funny. I
yes.
like when they say that life has 100% mortality rate. It's like being born. Being born is 100% mortality rate. And it's freaky. It's scary when you think about it too
It
much, but
is. It is. But I mean,
it's
they're
yeah,
all
there's like
certain.
yeah.
Why not go out with a bang? And why no?
Oh
Why
yeah.
not go out with a new narrative memorial? I said it. I said it here,
Exactly. You did
folks.
it. You name checked. This was great. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh my
I
gosh,
loved
I'm
it.
so glad you came. Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been complete without you. Like, you were
Oh,
literally
thanks.
one of my like OGs in the beginning. So I feel like we had to
Yeah.
come back and
Here we
recheck.
are.
And so I'm just so glad to be a part of this community with you.
Yeah.
And just
Likewise.
yes. So thank you everybody for joining Christina and me from New Narrative, and go get your New Narrative memorial on, and we'll see you.
Go new narrative.
Go to narrative,
Go
exactly.
yeah, go get oh
Your
my
mom just said
mom.
wonderful interview. Oh my
My
gosh,
mom.
love
Oh yeah,
her.
my mom is here. My new friend and Canadian colleague Andrea is here. Yeah, she's awesome. Or
You
she may have just
Canadians, I
left.
swear, y'all
Canadians
are
are
just all
great.
about just innovating in the deaf tech space. You really got to give us Americans some time to like catch up. So,
Yeah,
okay,
there's a lot. There's a lot from both sides. All North America is really yeah,
we're
definitely.
representing. So,
Exactly, yeah.
exactly. All right,
Amazing.
girl. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being on. Thank you, everybody. And I will see you all next week. Thanks, Christina. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.